business, finance, all of that. Sorry, I digressed. Circling back.
No, you can digress all you want.
Yeah, like circling back is like we have calls with the bride, the maid of honor, like a parent. It's kind of just ranges across the board. And the one thing that everyone says in concern is budget, right? Like, what is your budget? And we are thinking now, we've done a couple polls to like send to the group to like be anonymous of, okay, flights, can you fly? How much you feel comfortable with staying for the hotel or on dinners. Okay, this is like the average. Do you want to subsidize more? And it's just kind of being that third party that's like, we hear what you want, but this is also what your friends can do, and know that everyone is trying their absolute best. And if we all had the money in the world, we would do all the activities that you want. But like I've stressed before, this is the first wave. And like, I'm going on a bunch of bachelorettes, and like, I've already had like 7 girls get engaged the past 2 months.
Wow.
A lot.
So, right. So you asked like the people involved, okay, bachelorette party A, like, let's take a poll. What can everyone afford? Or the average, what's people feel comfortable with is $500. We just did the math of what, you want to do. It's going to be like $1,700 a person. Your friends are either going to scream and not come or whatever, or how much do you want to, I mean, that's a smart way to go about it.
Yeah, and it's exactly right. Where can you cut costs? Like,
and one of the services we offer are those polls. So we can take that off their plate and we can say like, what's important for you to figure out, whether that's, budget in general, specific dates, location, if that's undecided, we can poll the entire party and then come to an agreement. But I think other than just figuring out like what people are comfortable spending, it's also helping them cut down the cost. So when a group comes to us and says, I want to do X, Y, and Z, we can say, okay, we have a great partnership with this yacht company, so we can cut your yacht cost in half. So in a lot of ways, our services really pay for themselves because we only charge one overarching service fee. It's not per person, it's one fee. They can divide it amongst the group, or one person can pay for it. But a lot of times our costs are certainly lower than our competitors. So a lot of times our costs completely cover themselves, but just because of the discounts we're able to get. So that's a big value add also.
That makes sense. What about like, do you see any trends? Like, are people doing destination bachelor and bachelorette parties? Like, what's the trend these days?
I can start. So the 2 top cities are Austin and Nashville. Nashville being number 1, Austin's number 2. I actually lived in Austin for 5 months, so I kind of also have a pulse on what's going on. There's definitely international, Cabo, Tulum, we see a lot. We're actually planning one in Lake Como. So that's kind of crazy. And Jolie and I were very lucky. We are extremely well traveled. So odds are both of us or one of us has been to whatever destination you want. Definitely in the US, we've been to like every major city where a bachelorette would happen.
Wow. Is there a minimum budget that, like, if people out there are listening and want to contact you guys, like, is there a minimum budget? I don't even know what that would be, but.
So we really can work within any price point, but it's hard to give a specific number because it depends on where the group's located and where they're going. So if we're talking about a group in New York City that wants to do a bachelorette weekend in New York, that's going to be a very different conversation if they're not paying for accommodations than someone who's based in New York and is bringing 14 girls to Cabo. So it totally depends on flights, the weekend. Is it a holiday weekend? How many nights is it? Are we talking Airbnb? Are we talking hotel? And we can help groups. So I think like the important thing to know is if you want to do a call with us, we'll help you. If you can say, this is what I feel comfortable spending, we'll tell you what's realistic in that price point.
Right. So really no minimum, like everyone should reach out, and that's thinking of contacting you guys.
Yeah, well, we work off of 3 tiers. So we have tier 1, which is just like an itinerary proposal where we don't physically book anything. And that could range, again, depending if you divide it from the group, it could be $30 a person to like $60 a person plus, which is not crazy, right? And then like our second tier is when we're starting to book like the restaurants, the boats, all of those things, have access to our discounted partners. That could be anywhere from $75 to $150 a person. If you're spending $2,000, that's like, again, nothing crazy. So no one has any fights. And then same with our VIP. It's again, like still kind of in that range depending. And that's really where we do everything imaginable. And then we do those little, you know, like those welcome bags and the decorations and stocking like the fridge and whatever you need. Like you just show up and everything is magically there.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know, we're seeing like so many friends go into business together. Like we're seeing like on Summer House this season, you know, yes, I'm making a reference to Bravo, you know, like Carl and Kyle are having like, you know, some difficulties with Loverboy. We have like on Vanderpump Rules, like Katie and like, you know, she's going into business with Ariana. Like, I guess you guys have no reservations of being friends. Is it because you lived in this small little 1-room apartment on the Lower East Side or East Village? Or I mean, was there any reservations?
You know what? We've talked about this a bit. So Avery and I don't want to like toot our own horns that much, but like I'm going to toot them. You know, I would say like we're pretty responsible women. Like we've both been in corporate for quite a while. I think there's something unique about our relationship. I think like a lot of friends have had bumpy road. Like I just think in most friendships, friends fight. Friends do friendship breakups and get back together. I would say like Avery and I are the kind of friends in our years of friendship, we've rarely fought. I mean, we've bickered here and there, but we really support each other. And there's like a phrase that I think Avery and I both kind of live by, like in our friendship. And it's something my dad taught me at a young age. And it's that every relationship is a bank account. And think about that with your friendship. So every time, you know, a friend is positive, a positive impact in your life, does something for you, it's a deposit, right? And every time you get into a fight or someone betrays you or lies to you, that's a withdrawal. And Avery and I always say our bank account is so rich. Like we've just not had like, you know, these negative things. And even with the business, I've yelled at her a few times. She's yelled at me. We've made a few mistakes. But I think at the end of the day, we respect each other and we work really well together.
Like what has been one conflict you guys have faced so far where you weren't on the same page?
Well, so we actually, Jolie's sister sent us really helpful, and I think it's a very important exercise to do of like literally 50 questions of kind of what's your worst fear about working with me? You know, what are you most excited about? What is like, if something goes wrong, how are we going to handle this? How does your family, like really like these uncomfortable questions? And we did a couple meetings.
It was a co-founder questionnaire.
Yeah. And I think that it's one of those things where we really like did the work and kind of just put everything out there of like, you know, what we love about each other, our fears about working together. Obviously the core is us not becoming friends or not remaining friends. And like I said, Jolie's my family, vice versa. And like, it's just, there's no way that we can't, like at the end of the day, our friendship is first. And we're really good at like, when we do bicker about something of like, you know, what do we do for our launch party? Who do we want for this? Like, who are our partnerships? What are our pricing? It's like, okay, I see your point of view. I hear you. Like something that my life coach has said is, I hear you, I see you, I love you. And it's just kind of like, I know, right? I just have to say it. It's great. Shout out Jax. But basically it's one of those things where it's kind of like recognizing it, but then like, okay, Jolie, like we got to keep it moving, because if we're just going to sit here and go back and forth, like we have so many bigger issues to climb.